But they were able to accomplish something perhaps greater than the first Hispanic judge in this county. They were able to get my parents to travel from 90-degree weather in Panama up here to Chicago during the winter. Something I haven't been able to do in a long time. What a wonderful day it is to be a citizen, to be an attorney, to just be part of the judicial system in this county. I've learned a lot and have a lot of thank yous to say to a lot of different families. And when I say families, I'll start off by mentioning my own. Judge Brown told you briefly, I am the son of a military veteran. My dad spent 30 years defending this country. I always like to recognize my mom as a military veteran as well, and I think sometimes they're overlooked. On Veterans Day, we recognize those people who served, but my mom was serving just as much as my dad was. She raised me. I'll tell you that my father and I met when I was 9 months old because the Army, in their infinite wisdom, decided to send him to Vietnam when my mom was pregnant, 3 months with me, and she had 2 kids at home. Were it not for that, I would have been born in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, so I can thank the Army for allowing me to be born in Panama. But I can imagine what life was like, waiting those 9 months in the jungle. For my father, I can't imagine what life was like for my mom, not knowing if Dad would ever come home. And you have to understand, this is in a time when there was no Skype, there was no cell phones, there was no way to communicate. There was just a constant waiting to see if your loved one would make it back. My parents have always been the example of service. When you're in the military and you grow up as a brat, both my brothers know, it's all about the mission. In the military, it's all about the mission, and the mission is what the service member has to carry out, and everybody in the family has to be dedicated to that mission. And we did that. And we moved every 3 years, sometimes 4 years. It wasn't fun, but we had each other. My oldest brother, Ray, he's the reason I'm here in Illinois. He allowed me to sleep on his couch during the summers at the Citadel so I could come up here and earn some money. Ray's a successful financial planner here in Aurora, and he started off with the example here locally. When I lived with him, he did work. He was starting to generate a business, but he ended up volunteering, and I saw him volunteering with different organizations. I saw him doing things for nonprofit groups, and he set the example for starters, so I owe that debt of gratitude to my brother Ray. My brother Rene, who's here from Florida, yeah, it's Ray, Rene, and Rene, so my parents have a sense of humor. He graduated from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and immediately went into work for the government. I'm not allowed to tell you what he does. In fact, I'm not sure what he does. But I do know that he's traveled overseas on numerous occasions. He does that in defense of this country as well. I like to think of him as that phrase from A Few Good Men. When Jack Nicholson says, "You want me on that wall, you need me on that wall," that's my brother. I think that's what he does, and I'm glad that he's doing that for all of us. My next family I want to try and recognize is my girlfriend, Sylvia, and her daughter and her son. I have to apologize for putting you through the last 2 months of waiting for the decision on this. It was stressful. Obviously, we're here at the prize now. When I started dating Sylvia, she didn't know it, but I was DJing during law school to make extra money. So I used to tell her that every occasion has a song that goes along with it. And the one song that always tells me about Sylvia, and this is an artist that she introduced me to, is Jason Mraz. And there's a song called Lucky. And basically the gist of the song is, I'm just lucky to be in love with my best friend. And Sylvia is my best friend. So thank you, Sylvia. Now, the courthouse community. A lot of you probably remember when I first started walking around, and a lot of you may not know that when you go to law school, they teach you some about the law, they teach you how to think, but they don't tell you where to go and how to do things. So I do owe a debt of gratitude to every clerk who told me where to file things, what paperwork to use, every bailiff who told me where to stand and where not to stand, every judge who told me, maybe a little bit more forcefully, where to stand and where not to stand. But everyone in the courthouse, this is a wonderful place to work. It's a wonderful place to practice law. I will share a story. I've actually already been practicing for the last 9 days. And I'm in divorce court right now. So I had a pretrial conference, and I had an attorney come in from Chicago, and she was dealing with an attorney from here in Kane County. She had a scared look on her face. We went in the back room to talk about a case. And we resolved it. It was very simple. It was all very very informal. And she stopped for a second and she said, "This was one of the most wonderful experiences I've ever had." And I questioned her, I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "I came here afraid. I'm just so used to going places and having people be contentious and wanting to argue with me. And the attorney sitting across from the table," she said, "was so nice and just listened and they talked. And then I sat down and listened, we reached an agreement. And she wanted to pack up all her bags and come here to Kane County and practice law." I talked her out of it because I don't want anyone to lose any business. But that just is symbolic. Yeah, the lawyers like that. That's just symbolic of the way we do things around here, and it's just a wonderful opportunity for me to be a part of this. Now, I did start off actually with the state's attorney's office briefly, and I worked under Judge Barsani. I then had an opportunity to work with Fred Morelli, and Fred taught me how to work hard. Fred works hard and make sure that I never missed a client's court date, make sure I never missed a client's appointment. I then had the opportunity to work with Ed Gill and Manny Barbosa, the firm of Barbosa and Gill. Judge Barbosa then went off to be a federal judge about 3 months after I started. I didn't take it personally. I assumed that he was going on to something bigger and better. But then Ed and I got a chance to know each other very well, and he took a flyer on me. He didn't know me very well. I knew his firm very well. I knew that they were destined for great things. I wasn't sure how long I would last. To share a quick story, the second day I was there, I'm trying to do everything I can to impress Ed, obviously. And there's a gentleman that came in who got bitten by a dog. And I knew, I didn't know too much at the time, but I knew I got to get a picture of this because we're going to need that later on. Well, the problem is the gentleman got bit on his right butt cheek. So, back then we didn't have fancy cameras, we didn't have our cell phones, we were working with pagers back then. So I had the gentleman lower his trousers. He had some nice whitey-tighties on. He proceeded to raise them up so I could take a picture of the bite, and as I was crouching down to take an accurate picture, I see Ed Gill walk by the door. He looked over, and he took a few steps back and just shook his head. And I wasn't sure if I should be packing my things at that time or not, but we survived 17 years. Ed always told me that if you treat people well, they'll always come back to you. He wanted to have the largest Hispanic law firm in this county. It's not the state, it's not the country. We're on the right track. We've hired some phenomenal people. It's tough to say goodbye, to be honest. My heart's there. My heart will soon be switching, I guess, or leaving it. There wasn't a single day I woke up without thinking about everybody that works in that building, their families, and what that building and those people inside mean to the Aurora community. I thought it would be easier to say goodbye. It has been a little bit easier because it kept me very busy at court, but my mind's been with the office. I know they're working hard. I know that they'll smile and they'll say everything's fine, but I know they're jumping around a little bit trying to account for my not being there. But the work continues, and Ed will smile at you and say, I got to tell another Ed story if I get a minute. Ed's mom works with us, and she told us that when Ed was a kid, the Incredible Hulk was his favorite character that he would, want to be like. And I never believed it, because any of you that know Ed Gill see him smiling around the courthouse. He's always smiling for the bench. He's one of these easygoing guys. But just go watch Ed Gill play soccer one day, and you'll see he'll go from David Banner to the Green Monster. So I owe a debt of gratitude to Ed. Ed took a flyer on me. We've worked together. We've been through some hard times, personally and professionally, surviving a few things, and I knew I could always count on Ed. You can still count on me, obviously, for anything. I'll always be one phone call away. Last thing I want to mention is my Aurora community. Aurora has been my home. I've lived here longer in this area than I have at any point in my life, because we did move around every 3 or 5 years. And the community has embraced me. The community has allowed me to do a lot of things in my free time to benefit the community. One thing that I'm most proud of is when I took over the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, there was a festival that was happening in Aurora. It was an Independence Day festival, and this is a Mexican Independence Day festival called Fiestas Patrias, and it happens September 16th of every year. When I started meeting with the business owners in Aurora, that festival had not occurred over a 9-year time span. Mind you, I'm not Mexican, but the people I represented as part of this organization told me, what a shame that we have to go to some other place in the state of Illinois to celebrate our independence, then do it right here, the second largest city in the state of Illinois. So I embarked on what took me about 18 months to bring that festival back. We did bring it back. I did have the help of several individuals from Elgin, because Elgin was putting a festival together, and I did have Christina Castro and some others come down and help me. But we put it together. We brought that sense of patriotism back to a large group that is part of the demographic in Aurora. We were able to raise scholarship monies, and I believe at this point we've given out over $25,000 in scholarship monies in the last 3 years as a result of that festival directly. And that's what it is to give back. I'm not done giving back. I have a job to do now, and I'm going to take that job very seriously. But I'm inviting you to invite me wherever you need me to go so that I can keep helping. This is, as Judge Brown said, this is a much larger responsibility than just this road. And I'm happy to go where you want me to if you'd like me to speak. I'm happy to go where you need me to if you just need my help. My parents have taught me that symbol of service, that dedication, and it doesn't end now. It should now only just get bigger and better. The last thing I want to say, when I graduated high school, my father really never talked about Vietnam. When I graduated high school and I got on a plane in Panama, I was headed towards the Citadel, not knowing what I was getting myself into. I learned from my dad for the very first time, since he never talked about Vietnam, that on July 11th of 1970, he was in the bush in Vietnam. Somebody called out the name, Platoon Sergeant Cruz, and he called up for them to find him. My father tells me this story, and he pulls out of his pocket a document that he's been carrying around for 18 years. He handed that document to me, and now I've had it for the last 24 years. And it's a note from the Red Cross, and it says, congratulations, date of birth July 10, 1970, born at 4:40 p.m., 7 pounds, your wife had a boy. I carry this with me. It's a reminder of the sacrifices that my parents made so that we can enjoy all the privileges we do. I remember when I graduated from the Citadel, Ted Turner was our graduation speaker, and those of you who know Ted Turner know Jane Fonda. And we know what Jane Fonda was famous for during the Vietnam era, when my dad was here waiting to meet me. I was nervous, because I'm thinking to myself, what's my dad going to think? All my classmates were saying, your dad was a Vietnam vet. What's he going to think that Jane Fonda is here at your graduation and she's graduating with Ted Turner? And I asked my dad nervously. I wasn't sure what he was going to say. And he said, son, and he surprised me. Although now I'm not surprised. I was there fighting for her right to say what she was saying. That statement stuck with me my entire life. This page will be with me my entire life. And the service that my parents have taught me will never end. Thank you very much.